What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from Anime Uproar, back at it again to discuss this absolutely insane development in the One Piece story. We are discussing the full translated pages today of the new One Piece chapter, and wow, it is not an over-exaggeration to say this is the biggest chapter of One Piece yet, and there are plenty more details that were not in the spoilers that we're going to cover. So make sure to stay tuned for this one. If you enjoy these One Piece reviews and want to keep them coming, chill up Pirate King within and smash that like button. Smashing is Pirate King energy and passing is scared Orochi energy. If you haven't, make this the video, subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications or you will miss future One Piece videos and updates. And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. This chapter is called Warrior of Liberation, obviously referring to Luffy, who awakened last chapter and was at once identified as Joyboy and Sun God Nika. We hear Luffy's voice saying, "How can I still stand? What's happening? I just lost. But I feel like I'm having a blast," and then he laughs. Clearly, since he says he just lost, this is still Luffy and not an instance of Joyboy taking over his body and personality, which is a relief. We want Luffy to stay Luffy as he beats Kaido, or else it wouldn't really be satisfying and it wouldn't really mean much. We jump to Momo telling Yamato that Luffy is Joyboy. Then we see Sanji, Kid, Law, Hyogoro, and Marco sensing that Luffy is still alive. So although Oda teased that Luffy's voice disappeared and Joyboy's appeared last chapter to make it seem like maybe Joyboy took over, this is in fact Luffy at the same time as it is Joyboy as well. AKA, Luffy is Joyboy. Joyboy doesn't need to take over Luffy. It's funny to see Nami bawling her eyes out with Tama as they react to the news that Luffy is still alive. Nami clearly cares a lot for Luffy, and that's been emphasized quite a bit recently. And I gotta say, I see them ending up together if Luffy ends up with anyone that is. At least as Goldie Roger did, I can see Luffy leaving behind a kid, and that could very well be with Nami. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. We jump to the 5 elders. It's mentioned that they sacrificed one of their best agents and enraged Kaido, so they're wondering, do they really have their priorities straight? Obviously, one of them questions whether Luffy is worth all the trouble. And it's mentioned that it's better than the alternative. They gotta snuff out something that important. Obviously, they were aware of Luffy's potential as the Sun God, and they were trying to prevent it. Again, makes you wonder what Pirate Shanks was talking about with them, since they clearly didn't seem as focused on this before that conversation. Don't get me wrong, I love Shanks, but it's quite the coincidence. We're told no matter the era, the world government has always failed to acquire the Gomu Gomu fruit, even after 800 years of trying. It's almost as if the fruit is evading them. And it's mentioned that that's not impossible since all zone fruits have a will of their own, and this one carries the name of a god. That's all insanely hype and interesting. The fact that Luffy has a god fruit, of course, but also the distinction that zones are the only ones that have a will of their own according to this. It makes me wonder how much of the chopper we know is the original reindeer and how much is the will of the human fruit. Is it possible that his current personality is based more on the fruit than the original reindeer? Interesting implications to consider for all zones. Anyways, back to the real name of Luffy's fruit. It is a mythical one as I always hoped for, and its name is the human fruit model Nika, so the sun god Nika fruit pretty much. Insane stuff, and I personally think that human fruits and their different models should in theory have the strongest wills of all zone fruits, since usually other animals are associated more with instincts than free will. But at this point, I admit that's just speculation. We see Luffy jumping through the sky looking like the sun god silhouette we've seen before as the moon frames his own smiling silhouette. We're told the Nika user's body gains the properties of rubber in combat. They're supposedly only limited by their imagination, putting smiles on faces far and wide. They're the embodiment of the warrior of liberation. So clearly, rubber still is an important aspect of Luffy's powers, even if more abilities will be added on top of it. Despite the name change into fruit, he can arguably still be called a rubber person. But the really crazy line is, and I quote, "They're supposedly only limited by their imagination," end quote. Now, I think it's not far-fetched to say that Luffy probably has the most overpowered fruit now, but that line that I just singled out makes it sound almost too broken. If he's only limited by imagination, then he could potentially do anything with his fruit, manifest any ability, but we'll see what happens. Clearly, these 5 elders are drawing from legend and not just fact, so it'll be interesting to see how Luffy uses the powers going forward. We're told that awakening exponentially strengthens the user's rubbery body, and they have even more freedom. It is allegedly the most ridiculous power in the world. So yeah, everyone wishing that Luffy's fruit wasn't special, it's actually the most special. But that's okay in my book since Luffy, in my view, was never set up as an underdog in the way that Naruto was in the beginning, for example. He was impressive and kicking butt from anime episode 1, so I don't feel as tricked when the story continues to build up his specialness. And they did it well too, because it's not like everyone who got this most special of fruits awakened it. Luffy was the first in 800 years, so he still had to put in the work to make it this special. We finally get the revenge of Hiyori against Orochi. Oden's foolish dancing is mentioned again, and it hurts every time they remind me. Hiyori mentions how they didn't honor the secret agreement to free Wano, but to me it was so obvious they wouldn't. What kind of war ended because of 5 long years of dancing? I respect characters who have honor and keep their words, but those characters can't expect others to be the same way. Oden even underwent the boiling for an hour challenge, only for them to kill him anyways. We get some really heartwarming moments like Kid Hiyori crying because of what people said about her dad and whether that bothers him or not. And he said with a smile, of course he's fine with what other people say, since he has, and I quote, "you guys," aka his family. So wholesome, so sweet, that Kid Hiyori lighted up when she heard this, saying then she swears she'll always be here for him. Then finally Hiyori's mask comes off, revealing the anger, pain, and tears. She tells the pleading Orochi to hold his miserable wretched tongue and proclaims she is Kozuki Hiyori. She says Orochi never had honor, and Orochi carries on to beg for his life. Fittingly, Hiyori doesn't even have to kill him since he sowed his own demise. Kanjuro's flame comes back and instead of going after Hiyori, burns Orochi instead, and hopefully this time he stays gone. Hiyori, with tears in her eyes, says the dawn will come. Some great revenge and closure there for her, and Orochi obviously deserved everything he got. It's a well executed revenge scene for a very hateable character by Oda. Back to Luffy, who feels like anything is possible now. He can keep fighting a bit longer and his heartbeat sounds funny. So interesting that he is hinting at a time limit there, since he does say a bit longer, meaning this power isn't necessarily as bottomless as it may have appeared at first. Nevertheless, Luffy says this is his peak. His Gear 5th. We got Gear 5 boys, and an awakening, and Luffy became a pirate sun god. I don't know what else we could have asked for. Oda over-delivered if anything here. Kaido looks panicked by something on the roof, and we see a giant hand come down and grab Kaido's dragon body as if he were an ordinary snake or something. Luffy pulls him up so fast that Kaido's eyes pop out of his head like in the old cartoons. And this cartoonishness really becomes a part of Luffy's awakened power, as we'll see. His muscles suddenly become cartoonishly big, like Popeye on steroids, and he swings Kaido, slams him on the ground again and again. Luffy is laughing all the while. Kaido realizes it's Luffy, and instead of being angry, he says he's grateful Luffy is alive. Clearly, as I've been saying, it's not all about winning for him, and despite what he says sometimes, he doesn't want to win in a dishonorable way. Doing so against Oden really messed with him, and it continues to haunt him to this day. Even though he's messed up, he clearly has more redeeming qualities than Orochi. Kaido launches a blast breath, Luffy's eyes pop out like Kaido's did a little while before. He rubberizes the ground, raises it, uses it to reflect Kaido's attack back at him. It hits, Luffy laughs, and we get an official Gear 5 announcement / label, and it can't be denied. Luffy's hair is very reminiscent of Super Saiyan hair, and the white color in the manga and the sun theme of this form suggests that it will most likely be blonde as well. Kaido is still alright and says sorry about that idiot from before, I didn't want to win like that. And Luffy says, don't sweat it, now let's finish this. These dudes are completely talking like equals now, and I love it. It's a far cry from when Kaido looked down on Luffy. Of course, let's mention Luffy's interesting curvy eyebrows that many have compared to Sanji's. Then there's the eyes or pupils, which now have a ring around them and have been compared to Mihawk and even Imu's eyes. Although to be fair, I do think he's missing one more ring for that, unless the outer rings are just drawn too close together to distinguish them well. But we'll see how much the changing eyebrows and pupils end up meaning. Either way, as we're told, the battle reaches its finale, and we can assume it won't take long now for Luffy to beat Kaido and probably take on the biggest bounty we've ever seen in the history of One Piece. Not only would he have earned it by all of his exploits up to this point and by beating the strongest creature in the world, but the fact that he has the most dangerous fruit on top of that means it's probably going to be raised even more. After he beats Kaido, the strongest creature in the world, I could see only the fast-growing Blackbeard and the Marine/world government giving him significant trouble. We are pretty much at the end game here. Something I'm really curious about is Luffy saying this is my peak. This is a shonen, and I assume Luffy will get stronger if it's only by getting more used to Gear 5th, but crazy to see that Luffy said he's at his peak. I look forward to seeing the implications of that statement being fleshed out. Of course, it could mean my peak at this moment, but it feels more significant than that. It might be Oda's way of saying that Luffy won't get any new forms. Obviously, Sun God Luffy was MVP this chapter, and let me know, how do you think Kaido will fare against this new Luffy? Will Luffy overpower him quickly now, or will Kaido still put up a significant challenge? This battle between two epic mythical zones will be insane, no doubt. But yeah, that is it for this one. If you did enjoy the One Piece video, I want to keep them coming. You know what to do. Channel Pirate King within, and smash that like button with no mercy. Smashing that like button is Pirate King energy, and passing is Scared Orochi energy, so choose wisely. If you haven't made this the video, subscribe and hit that notification bell to turn on all notifications, or you will miss future One Piece videos and updates. And while you wait for the next video to drop, feel free to check out my huge and growing One Piece playlist that includes videos on all the Yonko, Warlords, Supernova, Admirals, all Mythical Zone users, and much more. Link to that is in the description. And until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!